I do want to welcome our online viewers. I know we say this every week, but we really are honoured that you join us. We're not just a church that's contained by the four walls. We love to reach people that are outside of our church. So I think we should put it up for our online viewers for joining us. Wherever you are, we're thankful. And I just want to say there's something that God put on my heart just for this morning. I was literally wrapping up, getting ready for tonight. And God just put this on my heart. I just want to share it. It's not part of my preach, but in everything we do, and I want you to listen to this, church. This is going to open up what I'm about to speak about. In everything we do, we must trust Him, being God. Because without trusting Him, none of this matters. So if I can trust Him with my eternity, which is why most of us look for God, we know that, He's made a place for us in heaven when we leave this earth. If we can trust Him with our eternity, then we can trust Him with our now. If we can trust Him with our lives, then we can also trust Him with our finance. And if we can trust Him with our finance, then we can trust Him with our plan. And this is the big one. If we can trust Him with all that, then we can trust Him in our current circumstances, the ones we can't control. Because not trusting in Him means there's no reason to do what we do. The whole foundation of what we do, Christ follower, new to this thing, wanting to know what it's all about, the whole premise is that we trust in Him. Above our control, above what we do and don't know, above our finance, above our lives. And I know we get caught up on that, well, we trust Him without eternity, but the rest begins to be difficult. But if we can trust Him with that, then everything we do makes sense. And so I want to encourage you as we go into part 6, not 148. That's all right. Part 6 of why did you do that? The premise of this series we've been breaking down, and I promise you it's coming to an end soon. But the premise of this is to provoke the people around us in our lives, in our schools, even in our church, to ask the question, why did you do that? Why do you do this? And tonight I am doing forgiveness again. We did forgiveness last week, and I'm doing forgiveness 2.0 because I believe there's so much more into this, and there's so much more for God's heart about this topic. Because last week we identified why we should forgive. This week, I want to help us break down how we can forgive. And so just to recap last week, for those who weren't here or missed it online, we did a levels of how to reach the ultimate forgiveness. Level 1 is you identify God forgives you. That's level 1. Level 2, you begin to forgive yourself. And level 3, then you start the journey of forgiving others. And so tonight I want to break down what it means to not just find out the why of why we should forgive, but the how. And so I'm going to jump straight into it, and I'm so honored to be able to preach this message. But I just wanted to go straight into it. And I've noticed this week, after last week's message, that my boys actually fight a lot more than I realized. I kind of stopped on, I brought up last week about them fighting and they should get along. And this week I took note and went, oh my gosh, these guys don't get along as much as I thought they did. Like they fight over food, they fight over toys. Sometimes they just fight over nothing. And if there's anything that I've learned just monitoring my kids this week, is that humans butt heads, toddlers butt heads, brothers and sisters butt heads, people that don't go to church will butt heads with people that do go to church, people in the church will butt heads with people in the church, and basically there's a lot of button heads. And so I wanted to just break down, if we can identify the why it's important to forgive, which we did last week. The real question is how, because it's hard and it's difficult, and I had to break it down. So I've brought that mind frame I've got from raising my kids of forgiveness, and I realized as I was writing this message, the role the father plays in leading and ushering them into a space of forgiveness. And so I'm going to jump into that tonight. So if you have pens or you have paper or you're online, you're watching, you can write down these points. It's just something you can remind yourself of, because I don't think we're going to master this tonight. I don't think we're going to get it all right as a church 24/7. This is going to be a work in progress for the rest of our lives. But point number 1 of discovering forgiveness in your life, forgiveness towards your family, forgiveness towards workmates, forgiveness towards your ex-partner, forgiveness towards your ex-church, forgiveness towards your ex-job, whatever it is, the school, whatever you want to put that category in. I wanted to break this down to clear steps so we can navigate these steps and get ourselves out of trouble when it comes to unforgiveness. Because the truth is, though I parent my kids the best I can and I teach them how to forgive, they always find themselves in a mess where they are fighting, not getting along, and I think it's part of human nature. So step one, and this can apply to anyone that is got big problems, like big issues of forgiveness, like big things, like I don't want to go into detail, but things that might even be impossible for us to understand. Like these are big ticket items. Like these are might have altered your life or changed the way you thought. There's some little ones here, like maybe on your way to church, someone cut you off and you gave them one of your fingers. It doesn't matter what scale the forgiveness is. It's where we're trying to heal our hearts, not identify what was the bigger and the smaller thing. So we're going to process this. So number one, step one, you can write this down. You have to take your broken heart to God because, this is a revelation I got this morning, because the Father is actually drawn to the presence of a broken heart. I want you to just to understand this. When someone does wrong by you, when your heart's broken, because I discovered really quickly that if we removed 99% of the world and I was the only one left, that I would have 99% of my heartbreaks taken away. Because I found that most of the time I'm hurt, broken, or someone's done wrong by me, when I say someone, it always is someone. Like it's not like I wake up and my car makes me feel bad about my day. It's like when I walk into the shops and someone, like, you know what I mean? So humans, this is part of our lives. So when we identify a broken heart because of someone or someone in our lives have done that, you have to take it to Him. Because God, our Father, He's actually attracted, He's drawn to the presence of a broken heart. Now you're probably thinking, hang on, God's in the business of healing. He is. He's also in the business of joy and hope and life. But He's drawn to broken hearts. I'll tell you why this is important. When you find yourself in a place of unforgiveness, listen to me on this one. Don't run to your friends straight away. Do not run to your family straight away. Do not run to whoever straight away. Because if you take your broken heart to the wrong place, you will get the wrong answers. Wow. You've got to understand this. This is God's drawn to broken hearts. He is, and I'm going to biblically talk about this in a second, but He's drawn to broken hearts. And sometimes when we get hurt, sometimes when we get, unforgiveness in our heart, we run to the wrong thing. Yeah. We run to our friends, we run to our family. They will tell you, not only will they tell you, they will justify it because they're friends and family. I go to my dad, hey dude, Dad, this guy cut me off on the road. And he goes, yeah, was he speeding? I said, yeah. And he goes, yeah, like he's an idiot. So justifies why I should let it go. Or we go to someone and go, so-and-so broke up with me, and they go, was she doing this? Or was he, yeah. So yeah, I understand that. I get that. So if we go to the wrong place, we'll get the wrong answers. And so I wanted to just break down what God says. So the first thing we're going to do, if we identify we have a broken heart, whether it's caused by, work, school, relationships, wherever we are, to identify the broken heart of unforgiveness, we have to run to Him first because He's drawn and He is always wanting to connect with a broken heart. Psalm 34:18 says here, the Lord is close. Everybody say close. Close to the brokenhearted. He saves those who are crushed in spirit. Now, I just stop there for a second because I know sometimes when I get, I butt heads with humans or I have something go wrong in my life or in the church or something like that, the first thing to do, my instinct's like, I got to tell my dad, I got to tell my wife, I got to run and tell my friends. And it's like if I continue to justify or get them to justify my hurt, justify my brokenness, justify it, that I will get the wrong answers if I go to the wrong place. But the Bible says the Lord is close to the heartbroken. He's already there before your friends get there. He's already there before your family steps in. And He saves those that are crushed in spirit. So Psalm 147:3 then also says, He heals the brokenhearted and He binds up their wounds. Now, I know you're probably identifying now, you're like, oh my gosh, every time I've had an issue, I've gone to people and they've either, justified why I shouldn't forgive them, whether that's another, friend, family, even Christ follower, even another church, whatever it is. They don't have to be lost. They don't have to be unsaved. You can go to another Christian and they can justify your hurt. You can go to another, whoever it is, a leader. They can justify. You've got to go to God and say, God, what do you think about it? He's already close to the brokenhearted. He's already there. And so I identified this, that this week, the first thing that happens when my sons get into conflict is one of them runs to me. It's always one of them. Whether they're fighting over food, fighting over something, one of them runs straight to the father and says, Dad, so-and-so did this. And what I do as the father is I get, because my heart breaks when their heart's broken. Now I want you to think about this. When your heart's broken, God's heart's broken too. Your family or your friends, their heart might not be broken because they're like, oh, that's happened to you, not me. But when your heart's broken, God's heart's broken. And when my kid's heart's broken, my heart's broken. But here's the catch. Even though one's in the wrong and one's in the right, I still love them both. I want you to think about that. You go to someone with your problems, they will love you and what you're bringing more than maybe. But God, the Father, loves them both, which goes me on to point 2. And you want to write this down. Point 2. To discover forgiveness in your life and to really heal your heart, to really identify what it means to forgive people and let things go and move forward in your life, so people start to ask the question, why did you do that? Number 2 is you have to take your focus of what happened or what is happening. I wanted to add that in there because sometimes things have happened in our lives and sometimes things are still happening in our lives that we struggle with unforgiveness. We have to take our focus of what happened or what is happening and refocus it on God. Now, I'll tell you why this is important. The things that hurt us the most will be always the center of our lives. You lost your job, and that's the center of your mind, the center of your heart. You're constantly going to be hurt by what happened. Your partner, your church, your friends, whatever hurt you, if that is the center of your focus, then that is always going to be the hurt that you carry. So we have to readjust our center. We have to readjust our focus onto Him. Now, I'm not saying the hurt stopped. I'm not saying the forgiveness is not still there. I'm not saying the pain's not being caused. But if we readjust our focus onto Him, we readjust our center of our lives. Because if we center the lives around the hurt, then we'll constantly live in it. We need to center our lives around Him. So I wrote these affirmation cards. I don't know what affirmation cards are. And there's something that I just wanted to read out. These are things that you can say or do to help you refocus on Him. So the first thing I want to just say tonight for this one, to refocus, this is what I want you to try. Next time you find yourself in a conflict or you're filled with unforgiveness, I want you to start off by reading some of these and I can give you a copy if you want them. But the first one here, and this is what I do, is without God, I'm nothing. Now, I'm not talking about hurt. I'm not talking about the other person. I'm not talking about the unforgiveness. I'm not even, with simple as this, I want to re-switch my focus to God, take it away from that. Because God, without you, I am nothing. Everything I have is because of you, God. God, I thank you for another day. God, I thank you for everything. This is a good one. Now, I know there's still conflict. I know we've still got this happening in our lives. We're switching the focus. I've given God a million reasons not to love me, but none of them have changed His mind. My day is better when I talk to God first. Now, we have to start to read. Now, I'm not saying that forgiveness means that you forgive someone and then they get away with the crime, they get away with the action, they get away with it. Because forgiveness is about us healing. It's not about what happens on our side. Forgiveness is setting us free. And if we switch our focus to God, thank you for everything. Thank you for my day. I'm nothing without you. You've given me a million reasons. Forget them. You've given me a million reasons why you shouldn't love me. Yet I haven't changed your mind. Now, I know there's a bit of humor because I tried to apply this to our lives, and I'm not God to my kids, but the statements of the circumstances still make sense. Because the only reason my boys have toys is because of me. They fight over their toys. And as the father, I go, the only reason why you have those toys is because of me. And you know, my boys give me a million reasons a day why I shouldn't forgive them or love them. But no matter what they do, they can't change my mind. And so as a parent, I sometimes have to remind them when they're in conflict, when they fight with each other, when they're not getting along, I have to get down to their level and I have to say, look, I understand and I get that this is going on in your life, but focus on me for a second. Forget what your brother's done. Forget what's happening. Focus on me for a second. Dallas, look at me for a second. I know it's a lot of work and I know he's hurt you, but focus on me for a second. Switch your focus and let the Father adjust our hearts. Because what happens in unforgiveness is sometimes we can adapt the conflict, we can adapt the mindset that if someone's hurt us, now listen to me on this one, church, because this is a big problem in the Christian church. We think if someone's hurt us, that God loves us more and loves them less. Because we are saved or we follow God. So if the unsaved person hurts us, because I've given my life to God, God gives me favor. But the problem is, no matter if Dallas is in the wrong or right, I love them the same. And I know that sometimes I've gone, well, that person did that, so God's going to, he's going to curse them. Because I'm his, don't think I'm the only one that's saying this. You've had this mindset, if we're honest with ourselves, that God will protect us at the expense of them. If someone hurt us, then God and our God justifies that you didn't do anything wrong and they did, so they're cursed and you're blessed. But I love both my boys the same. Because my number one goal as their dad, I'm sorry if I'm being a bit tough, is not who's right or wrong, but it's how I resolve the conflict. And our Father in heaven is not about rights and wrongs. He's not here tonight in your life with whatever's happening with your unforgiveness, siding with you because you might be right and cursing those that are wrong. He loves them the same. I know that this is a hard point because we think if bad things happen to us, then God favors us, but God also loves and died for them. So how unforgiveness works is we have to switch our focus to God, and God will say, this is what happens. Dallas will look at me and he'll say, look, I can't do it. Blaze, took my food. I say, focus on me. I love Blaze too. Blaze is also my son. I love him to death, and Dallas can't get over it. But eventually when he focuses on me and goes, hang on, that's Dad. And Dad loves my brother too, and Dad loves me as well, and the conflict can be resolved. I don't care who's right and wrong. I want to know if the conflict can be resolved. Church, Christians, followers of Christ, it's not about rights and wrongs. I want you to listen to this point because we feel that God's going to strike our enemies with lightning and save us. He doesn't think like that. You can go up to the church up the road, you can go up to someone else's house, and you can go, well, they're wrong, and God's going to take care of it. But here's the thing, he loves them just as much as he loves you. So forgiveness has to be. You with me?
Very good. Absolutely very good.
Number 3. Number 3 is a hard one because I can't justify how people feel all the time, and I don't know how people are in their journey with unforgiveness. But this is number 3 if you want to write this down. You have to realize that God uses what was intended to destroy you to actually build you. And I don't know people's stories, and I know people have gone through some things where they've been hurt, or people have hurt them, or family breakups, or relationship breakups, or a bunch of things why we can justify our unforgiveness, or we can, hold on to our hurt and we can't let it go. And I'm not saying it's right or wrong, like I said in point 2. But you have to realize that God uses these things, the things that were intended to destroy you, he will use to build you. Romans 8:28 says here, and we know that in all things, everybody say all things, that in all things God's works for the good, listen, for the good of those who love him, who have been called according to his purpose. So, recap before I finish. We identified why we should forgive. God forgives us, we forgive ourselves, and then we should forgive others. But the how becomes a bit more tough. But I think that we process this, we'll get this, because our number one goal is to get the people around us to say, how did you do that? How did you... I don't understand how you let that go when no one else could. I don't understand how you went through that in your life, your childhood, whatever it is, and you came out better, because God will use the things that intend to destroy you to actually build you. All things that we go through, all things that we face, all things that are trials and valleys, God will use for the purpose of him, if we love him and if we allow him to. See, I never wish my kids to fight. I never wish to hear reports about them getting bullied at school. I don't wish upon interactions that happen that are bad. I don't wish conflict in their lives. I don't wish bad things to happen. As a father, I don't sit up there and go, man, I hope Dallas gets humbled. Like I want the best for him. But I don't wish these things. But as I get older and as I realize my kids grow up, these very things that happen in their lives, the bad interactions, the conflicts, the things that happen with the people around them, that it starts to build strength in them, and it starts to build character in them, and it starts to shape who they are. And you might be here tonight and you have some real problems with unforgiveness, and that's okay. We've got to do this as a journey. It's not an overnight success. But one day God's going to remind you that one thing that intended to destroy you is now going to build you. And where you didn't have compassion, all of a sudden you have compassion. And when people wanted to go against the grain, you said, you know what? I can help you fix this. I can help you get through this. I've been there. I've done that. The very thing builds character, strength, and shapes you. And as my boys walk through conflict, and as we walk through conflict as Christ followers in this world and the church, we follow those 3 points. It will make us who we are. The only part that gets you is if you don't forgive. Because then what was intended to destroy you will destroy you. It will take you. It will have you not following Christ anymore. It will have you walk away from God. It will have you burnt about your neighbors, burnt about your family, burnt about that ex-girlfriend, boyfriend. It will keep you there, and it will haunt you, and it will hurt you. And I'm telling you now, if we realize God will use what was intended to destroy us to build us. So as the band comes, the question is, why do you do that? Why do you forgive me when I didn't deserve it? That's what you want people to say. Family, like you actually want people to start going, hang on, why'd you forgive me? I didn't deserve that. Because people sometimes know when they've done the wrong thing. We don't have to just unforgive them and they get punished. God's going to strike them down with lightning. People are aware of what they do. Sometimes people are very aware of what they do. But the question is, why did you forgive me when I didn't deserve it? Why did you do that? Why did you let it go when you didn't have to? Why did you do that? Why did you let what others considered as something that would destroy your life build your life? Because a heart full of forgiveness will have the people around them asking them, why did you do that? You with me? This is a recap because we're finishing this 2.0 forgiveness segment. We can go back and watch part 1 and part 2, and we need to learn this. We're not going to master it. But number 1, let me read them out. Number 1 is you have to take your broken heart to God. Take it to God straight away. Don't just go to Pastor Mark or someone and go blah, blah, blah. Just go, God, how do you see them and how do you see me? And he'll go very clearly, hey, look, I'm attracted to the broken heart. My presence is around the broken heart, so you know he's there. Number two, then you have to, even in your times of struggle, your times of trying to get over this, and when it's happening to you or when it's happened, is you have to remind yourself, God, let me just refocus on you. I'm thankful for you today. I'm thankful for my day. I can't believe that 1,000,000 times I've let you down, yet you still love me, and switch our focus. And number three is we have to realize that everything that's come against us to destroy us, God will use to build us. So final point. Will we always get this right? Nope. Will we just be a church that has unconditional unforgiveness? Probably not. Will we master this topic and get it all going and everyone be like, wow, they're so good at what they do? Most likely not. But then 2 Corinthians 12:9 says, but he said to me, my grace is sufficient for you, for my power is actually made perfect in weakness. Therefore, I'll boast all the more gladly about my weakness, so that Christ's power may rest on me. This doesn't mean that we just throw away restraints and not try to forgive, but it means when we find ourselves in a place where we can't forgive, that our weakness is made whole with Him. And I believe this is a whole cycle, that as we find ourselves not being able to accomplish the forgiveness, God reminds us He forgave us, then allows us to start mending where we're going to go. So church, why did you do that? Online, why did you do that? A, we did it because He first forgave us. And B, we do it because everyone is also chosen and loved by the Father. That's how we accomplish or start to try and accomplish unforgiveness. Thank you, church. Thank you, online. We're in a time of worship. I know God's going to do some amazing things in the next couple of weeks. So thank you. Thanks for joining us. Bye.